No one is more hurt than church hurt than God himself. And that is why since the very beginning, God has always judged those who wound his people, who wound his church with a fierce seriousness. You see, true church hurt is when people have been taken advantage of in the church. People have been led astray by church leaders. This is an area in which our forgiving God makes an exception for forgiveness. In 1 Samuel, we meet a priest called Eli. And Eli had 2 sons that were also priests. And so many people would trust his sons and consider his sons representatives of God. But these 2 sons used their position of power to manipulate people, to steal from people's offerings to God, and also use their status and position of power to sleep with women who came to serve God's church. So you had innocent people that were earnestly seeking God, seeking to worship God, seeking forgiveness from God, and seeking to serve God. Eli's sons corrupted these innocent people and likely made these people feel like the place of God, the house of God, wasn't a safe space for them, and that damaged their faith. There's nothing that angers God more than when his own creature causes his children to turn away from him. We learn that in the garden, when the snake causes Adam and Eve to turn away from God, God's wrath is poured out on the snake. And that's also what happens here in the book of Samuel. It says the sin of Eli's house will never be atoned for in sacrifice or offering. Now remember, before Jesus, God had made a way for people to get forgiveness for their sins through a sacrificial lamb or some sort of offering. I.e., if you stole something, if you committed adultery, there was a way to forgiveness. But God is saying here, there will be no forgiveness for the house of Eli because of their iniquity. You see, iniquity is basically sin that is constantly pursued without repentance. So God is saying, because of your sin against me and because of your lack of repentance, there will be no forgiveness for the damage that you have done between me and my child. And we know that this is an exception for priests because we also meet Samuel, who's a priest, and Samuel has 2 sons. Now, these 2 sons are not priests, they're judges, but they're equally as corrupt as Eli's sons. But we never see God give the same punishment to Samuel's sons because Samuel's sons were not people who were considered representatives of God. It is when we put ourselves in a position of authority, in a position to represent God, and we actively harm people's faith, that God says, if a man sins against the Lord, then who can intercede for him? Jesus gives the same warning in the New Testament. He says there will be leaders that come to me and say, Lord, did I not prophesy in your name? Did I not do miracles in your name? Did I not lead a church or a prayer group or whatever it is in your name? And Jesus will say, depart from me, you worker of iniquity. I never knew you. Because their ministry harmed the very people that God trusted for them to shepherd.